Hello, ladies. I am so thrilled to be with you here today to talk about such an important topic of burnout. And this has now become a worldwide experience. And as women, we are doing so many things. We have so many hats, whether it's at home, it's at work, out inside or outside the home. We're taking care of parents, we're taking care of children. We also have this natural need to be in community and make sure others are okay. And that has really led to a lot of what we're all experiencing now in this worldwide pandemic, to now be the experience of burnout. So just let's take a nice, slow, deep breath together and feel gravity pulling you down and your own breath coming into your body, bringing in fresh oxygen, feeling the chair, the couch, wherever you are, feeling it supporting you. And as you exhale, just letting go of everything it took to get you here today for the next hour where we will focus on you. So I want to begin by how I think about solving any big problem that we've got, and it requires expanded vision. So I call it triple vision. What I mean by that is we have to think about how to heal ourselves in burnout. We are the foundation. Although many times we're last on our own to-do list, we are actually what our own wellness, our own energy levels, our own capacity and resourcefulness is what is supporting all that we do to care for others. And so this Heal Me Foundation is a very big component that is often overlooked. The next section is Serving We, and ultimately how we change the world in doing that. But always remember, the foundation of Healing Me, that's the base. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk through two of these. We're going to be talking through if you work outside the home, if you're in a school environment, right? There's a community aspect to this. If you're in the home, it's your family. And so that's the Serve We piece. And then we'll get to the Heal Me. But in the workplace, some research has been done that shows that burnout is not your fault. If you're feeling drained, you're feeling more irritable than usual, you think you might be burning out. Sometimes the big mistake people make is thinking, oh, this is my fault. Let me show you what the research shows about the biggest factors of burnout in the workplace, right? How does this show up? There's 6 key factors that drive burnout. One is workload. And by that, it doesn't mean that you don't want to do work. In fact, most people love taking on a challenge. What they found was it was more about the lack of time, resources, and support to meet that challenge that burned people out. So workload, that's the first factor. The second factor that drives a personal and organizational fit that can result in burnout is a lack of control. Feeling that in your job, you don't have the flexibility, literally the flexibility to change something that you see could be done better, could be done more efficiently, more effectively. So if you don't have that ability, it's a big drain. The third factor is around recognition. Now, we work really hard every day. We take care of other people, we serve our colleagues. And it's not about you being needy and, always wanting accolades. But it also is about once a year at an award ceremony, that not being enough. How is it in your workplace that when you do your job every day, nothing goes wrong? What are the ways that your organization has built in how to help you on a daily basis feel recognized, valued, and appreciated. So a lack of that, a lack of recognition, is also one of the big drivers of burnout. The fourth factor is community, the strength of community. So if you do not have a strong community, not only with your peers, but also with your leadership, that is a big driver of burnout. The fifth factor is fairness. Now, what this is about is, can you give input into your organization? Is there transparency in decision-making? Do you feel that when you give input, you're heard, and the choices, the decisions that are made that affect you, you can influence those? So it's about transparency and input in decision-making. And that's where fairness comes in. And the sixth factor contributing to the personal and organizational fit around burnout is around meaning. It's about, do you understand the higher purpose of your organization? And do you understand how what you do every day, how you get up, give your energy, your time, your care to this, how that contributes to that purpose being met? So what I want to make sure you know is, if you're feeling depleted, if you're feeling exhausted, if you're more irritable or feeling forgetful, or just noticing you're not quite yourself, do not blame yourself. One of the first places you want to look is the environment in which you are. And you want to pay attention to whether the 6 drivers of burnout are contributing to you having a good personal plus organizational fit. Those, once again, are workload, which is really more about having the resources, the support, and the time to meet the challenge. The second one, which is control, and knowing that you have enough flexibility to do what you need to do every day. The third one was recognition, feeling valued and appreciated every day. Community, the strength of community of your colleagues and your leadership. Fairness, which was about your input being valued, as well as transparency and decision-making. And finally, having purpose and meaning. So these are the most important indicators of that fit. So just taking a moment and in the chat, writing down, where do you see some of these drivers of burnout occurring in the we section? We talked about me, we, and world. In your we section, where do you see, oh, wow, that's something that's draining me of energy in my personal and organizational fit? So go ahead, take a moment and place that in the chat. And now we are going to turn this into a little bit of more focus on you. You spend so much time focusing on others, all the care, the attention, and energy that you give to the rest of the world. Now it's time to focus on you. So if this feels a little uncomfortable, if you're not used to it, that's okay. Just notice in your body how your body tells you it's easier to focus on others than it is to do a little selfie and focus on yourself. So let's start with the body map. When we're focused externally and we are helping other people, doing our job, running here, running there, making sure everybody's got what they need, oftentimes we don't have that extra inner attention to understand that, my neck is a little bit sore, feels a little tight. I don't pay any attention. And so now all of a sudden I have a headache. And if I'm not paying attention still, suddenly my back is hurting. So our bodies are talking to us all the time. The question is, are you listening? And many of us have learned that it's more productive. We can get a lot more done in the world if we tune out these inner symptoms. Now, there's many ways we do it. As a physician in the hospital, when I needed to be awake for 36 hours straight, oftentimes the way that I tuned out my own body was through 2 16-ounce sodas, right? Mountain Dews, sugar, caffeine, heaven, plus a king-size Snickers bar. So a candy bar, there's more sugar and adrenaline. And you could get me up taking care of patients for 36 hours without sleep. Now, what I know is those of you that have gone through finals week, those of you that need to get a proposal or a paper finished by a deadline, are giving a presentation, are giving a class, whatever the deadline is, you have your own time-tested strategy to get you over that deadline and tune out your body map. Your body map, each one of you has a unique way that your body is speaking to you. And the question is, what is that way? For me, it's right here in my upper shoulder, right where it meets my neck. I get throat constriction and my stomach starts turning. So those are the ways that it shows up for me. Your body will speak to you differently. Everybody has a unique way that it happens. So what are your strategies to override it? I shared mine. What are yours? So is it caffeine and sugar? Is it the caffeine sugar buzz strategy? Is it coffee? Is it a glass of wine or 3 to take the edge off? Is it retail therapy online? Is it watching shows, like binging shows? What is it? Is it talking, with a friend? What's the strategy that gets you through? Although talking with a friend might actually delay things and not get you over the hump. But what do you do to get over that hump and numb your body's signals? So take a moment and in the chat, go ahead and write down, what are your time-tested strategies to numb out your body map and miss the clues, those early symptoms, signals inside you, so that you can keep going. So taking a moment to go ahead and do that. And if for a little extra credit and bonus, you can also tell us, how does your body talk to you? What are the unique physical signals? Like I told you, I have throat constriction, right upper, shoulder pain. Now, I want to make sure I'm filming outside today. So if you hear a couple extra sounds or whatever, that's just the beauty of filming outdoors. So what is it, right? What is it that you use to override your signals? And what are those signals that your body's giving you? So sharing that with each other, making sure that you get really clear and tuned in. Now, for those of you that say, I don't really feel anything, my body doesn't talk to me. Well, yes, it does. But what you're telling me is that you have become an ultimate master in numbing them out, tuning them out. That probably means you are hyper productive. You get a lot of things done in the outer world. So if you've mastered that, all I want you to do is grab your headphones case, hold that in your hand, or take a stone the next time you're out on a walk. Get a perfect size stone. And when you're on these Zoom calls, just hold it in your hand. And if you want to tune in to what your body's saying, right? Just hold on to that weight in your hand, the AirPod case, the earbud case, whatever, or a stone. And pretty soon the sensations will start, you'll feel that weight. And after a little while, you'll actually start to sense, oh, my chest feels a little tight. Oh, wow, my heart is racing. It'll help tune you in if you're struggling with actually feeling those sensations. So I hope that's helpful. Now let's move on to, what is burnout? It's this big, ambiguous topic. Everybody's talking about it, but no one seems to be able to get their hands around what it is. Well, burnout is a triad, and it's about physical and emotional exhaustion. But if that's all it was, everybody across the planet by now would probably be experiencing burnout. It goes a little farther than that. When you've been that way for an extended period of time, what creeps in is this depersonalization, almost like you start to distance yourself from other people so you don't have to use the energy to engage. Then in creeps cynicism. And when cynicism comes in, you're starting to hear yourself say things like, it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter how much effort I put in. Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care anymore. Do whatever. So cynicism starts to creep in. And once you've been with physical and emotional exhaustion for an extended period of time, this cynicism comes in as a big signal. Then you move to ineffectiveness, where literally you can no longer function and do your job in the way that you were before. Maybe you're forgetting big things. Maybe you know, are snapping at people. There's all sorts of ways that this shows up: early, middle, and late. Now, the interesting thing is many people think, oh, burnout, I was fine in the morning, and then at the end of the day, I just collapsed on my bed. So what I want you to know is burnout is not a short-term thing. Burnout is something that happens over time. And let me show you what I mean. There's phases to burnout. So the first phase of burnout is the alarm phase. This is almost the experience of you jump on a treadmill that's going a little bit faster than you can keep up with. Your heart starts racing, right? You grab your gas. Maybe you know, have to get a handle on your breath. You're trying to recalibrate. That's the alarm phase. Now the problem is when things are going a little bit faster than is normal for us, most of us continue on that treadmill for a majority of our career and our lives. And that becomes the second phase of burnout, which is adaptation, where now this has become normal and you're really not getting a good recharge, a good reset. And, you know, we would never expect our devices, our technology to perform if we didn't plug it in at night. Yet somehow we've decided that our human biology, which is based on a series of feedback mechanisms and feedback loops, we have decided that that can somehow function without getting recharged. So paying attention to your always climbing another mountain, always taking on something else, and not recharging yourself as needed. So that's the adaptation phase. Finally, one thing, when you're in the adaptation phase and you're just barely hanging on, it only takes one thing. To tip you into exhaustion and have you sliding down the slippery slope of burnout to ineffectiveness. So you aren't fine in the morning and then burned out at night. It's usually a cycle that has been going on for a much longer period of time. Sometimes you'll know this because a weekend won't be enough anymore. You'll go on vacation and you'll come back and you still won't feel rested. So just starting to do a little bit of a reflection about where you might be now that you're understanding burnout a little bit better. And what I'd say here is, how about if you take a moment, and we'd love to know from you. We're going to put up a poll right now and just tell us, what phase of burnout are you in? Either it's no burnout here. Thanks, I'm doing fine, right? That's the first option. The second one is the alarm phase. I'm in that space where I've just moved to a little more than I can handle, and my heart's racing. I might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it hasn't been going on for that long. The third one, adaptation. Oh, I've been here for a while. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been feeling drained for quite some time. Then when you get to the end of adaptation, it's really about moving into a little bit of apathy where you start not caring, that cynicism comes in. And then the slightest thing can tip you into, no, this is exhaustion. Like, I really know that I'm very close to sliding down the slippery slope of exhaustion. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to have them hold that poll. So give us a second. We're going to do that once I give you the symptoms that go with each of these. That's going to be a better time for you to take this poll. So what is this? In the alarm phase, what are you going to be seeing? You're going to be seeing some extra fatigue, a little bit of agitation. You might be irritated. You can feel that heart racing. Maybe you're not sleeping as well. Things are keeping you up at night, little headaches. And in your gut next to your heart and your brain has the most number of nerves in your intestines. So if you ever wonder why little kids have a tummy ache, all of a sudden they look like they were fine, and all of a sudden you tell them that it's time to go somewhere, go to school, do something, suddenly they have a tummy ache. That's because our gut has so many nerves in it, right? So that's physical symptoms you might see. And then there's the emotions that come when you physically don't feel so well. Maybe you're a little more defensive than usual. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by things you normally weren't overwhelmed by. And something really important to know is all of these physical symptoms, these can indicate an actual physical health problem. So the first place you want to go is to your doctor to make sure you have a clean bill of physical health. Once you have a clean bill of physical health, then you can start thinking about, is this burnout? Is this the right place to be exploring it? Or if your doctor tells you, no, there's nothing wrong with your heart, nothing, you look really healthy, you look great, we checked your labs, all of that. Now you want to look for other causes. So be looking for burnout as a secondary place to look. Now, when you feel these symptoms and you have these emotions, how does this start showing up in the world? Well, you might start forgetting things. You might blame other people when you normally don't do that. You're missing deadlines when that's not normally you. You're having a hard time concentrating. You're making mistakes. And like I said earlier, you're tired even after time off. That's an early sign that you need to pay attention, because then you're going to move into the adaptation phase, which is going to look more severe. It's going to be, you're starting to procrastinate. You're avoiding social gatherings, right? That cynicism we talked about creeps in. And this is where you're getting to the edge of the adaptation phase. If you start noticing that apathy, like, I just don't care anymore, whatever, doesn't make a difference. Or you start using your coping mechanisms where you used to have 2 glasses of wine and now you're having 4. So your coping mechanisms are increasing, right? And how do you know you're in the exhaustion phase? You're not recovering. You are literally having debilitating headaches, pain. You're now needing to be on leave. You're feeling hopeless. And for the most severe, you're feeling like life isn't worth living. If you ever feel hopelessness or that experience of, this just isn't worth it, I don't see a way out, that's when you want to reach out and make sure that you get professional help. Please reach out to a friend. Please reach out to a professional and get help if that is ever the case. There has been a record number of students that have been feeling that way through COVID. Many of us have been pushed to our brink. So there is no shame in any of this. What we want is your health, your safety, and we are so proud of you for recognizing that something is wrong. And now, even if it's not you, what I really hope you got, if you'd like to get a copy of all of these, the phases, the triad of burnout, all the symptoms, etc., you can go to drneha.com/burnout signs, and you can download that handout. Now is when I want you to do your poll. And let's see, what phase of burnout are you in? So are you in the no burnout here, not feeling it, I'm feeling great? Are you in the alarm phase, the adaptation phase, or the exhaustion phase. Let's get a pulse of where this group is right now. Okay, and so now we're going to move on. Let's say you recognize that there's some burnout happening, and you go to a typical medical provider. By the way, we were not taught this in American medical schools. We were not taught about burnout. This is not something we know how to treat very well, evidenced by the fact that more than 50% of us are burned out. Also, we had a pandemic, but regardless, we're not the greatest at actually healing this. What we will do, though, is help you out of crisis. And we'll do something like give you some time off, give you some combination of an antidepressant, a sleep medication, or anti-anxiety to try and bring your symptoms down. And then if we're really progressive, we'll say, what if you do a stress management or an emotions class to help you with your emotions, or go in nature, do some yoga, get some movement. That's pretty much the standard burnout prescription. What I am proposing is 10 days later, you're not going to be ready to go back in the ring for round 2 because you don't have any new tools. You don't have any new ways of handling stress. So what I've proposed is a different way of doing it. My fundamental belief is that really each one of us, while yes, there's a personal and organizational fit that we spoke about, while yes, there's pandemic and world factors that contribute here, every one of us has to up-level our ability to meet a faster paced, quicker changing world than we've ever been in. And that's really about us looking inward. Remember that big foundation was heal me. So we have to become more resourceful, more resilient, stronger, more agile. And the way that we figure out where we're leaking energy. So I think about it as from burnout to optimal wellness. Where are you? That's determined internally for you on where you're gaining or draining energy on one or more of 5 levels: physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. And I'd like that to happen. I think it's great that you go to see your provider, they give you something to help you sleep, give you some time off, interrupt that cycle, help you. That's the acute treatment. I also want in parallel for us to be exploring what else might be going on where we could be leaking energy. So together, we're going to do an interactive experience where we are going to take a look at all these different energies. So let me first take you back to where we started. You remember the triple vision, right? We've already talked about the we, if you're in an environment, what you need to be looking for. Then we're talking about now what's important to you, how that aligns. And now we're going into the heal me. We're going to go into those 5 energies and we're going to explore each one of them. You're going to receive a handout in the chat, or you will have received it another way through an email or in the chat right now. And what I'd love you to do is either print this out or have it up on your computer so that you can go through this with us. It's an interactive handout, so you can type in it. As we go through each one of these sections, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you an overview of how I think about each of these energy levels. And then we're going to give you a few minutes, a few questions, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes for you to do this for yourself, one energy at a time. So I hope you have your handout ready, and we're all going to do this together. So when we're talking about your physical energy, of course, we're going to talk about, do you have, a few whole foods, nutritious meals spaced out throughout the day? So you want to just be thinking about that. Do I eat out more? Do I have packaged foods more? Do I cook at home more? Am I very clear about what's in my food? Next, how often do I get 7 or more hours of good quality sleep? So not just quantity, but quality sleep. And do I wake up feeling rested most days? So that would be around sleep. Now, movement. What are the ways that I joyfully move my body and sweat on a regular basis? Ideally, 15 to 20 minutes each day, um, or, 3 to 5 times a week. But do you enjoy it? Is it torture, or do you enjoy the ways you move your body? And then lastly, do you feel consistent energy throughout the day? So you want to pay attention to things like the 3 o'clock energy dip, right? The post-lunch lull. When is it that you're running and grabbing a coffee or a cookie, right? To keep your energy going, the sugar, caffeine, energy moves. So let's have you take a moment, and we're going to ask you some of these questions so you can put this together and get a pulse of whether your physical energy is a gain, a net gain, or a net drain. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to have you rate your self-care. And this is about how satisfied are you with each of these areas. And if you score yourself anything less than a 10, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself what would make it a 10. So now you're heading to your burnout awareness prescription. And the first 2 pages in red, right, are going to have some of these. So you can take a few moments to go ahead and rate yourself, rate where you are. So go ahead and start filling out the physical energy section. Noticing your body map as you do it, if it feels energizing and uplifting, or if it feels draining and heavy, or somewhere in the middle. Just taking a few minutes. Getting a pulse of your physical energy, just noticing how you feel inside as you're answering the questions. All right, and as you begin to wrap up, just getting ready as we move into the next section, which is mental energy. Mental energy is about many things. We are going to focus on thought patterns. What are the thought patterns that you run on repeat that without even knowing it, maybe you run fear, right? Maybe you're worried about your kids, about your job, about the next deadline, about your students, whatever that is. Oftentimes when something happens, maybe that's unexpected, we might be making it about us. Oh, what did I do wrong? Or we might be blaming it on other people. No, it was definitely your fault. We may be thinking, oh, I hope the weather is okay. I hope the plane landed on time. It might be about something bigger than us. Whatever it is, there's thought patterns in the way you run them that can give you energy or drain you of energy. So paying attention to how you do that. Oh, and then there is the big dip of judgments and comparisons. Now with social media, there's so many ways to see the highlight reel of somebody else's life and how perfect their life looks on Instagram, right? Or on TikTok. And it's a pretty easy trap to fall into, to compare ourselves and judge ourselves against other people. Just noticing if those thoughts that you're running are giving you energy or are they draining you of energy. An important thing to notice is your own work style. For some people, they need structure and certainty in their day. Other people prefer fluid, open day for creativity where they can alternate routine with creative. Some people really like to work with other people, and some people like silence and quiet and space to work through complex problems or write. So knowing your own work style and then aligning your environment with your work style, how is that working out for you with all the changes that have been happening in our world? So your work style and how you function and are productive is under mental energy. Also, how do you, when you're engaging with someone else, how do you meet them when they have a different opinion than yours? Are you able to lean in, listen, connect, or do you feel defensive, or do you feel a wall going up that you need to prove your point of view? So mental energy encompasses many things. We're going to take a look at a few questions here around mental energy. So what are the top 3 repetitive thoughts that are occupying your mental real estate? And next to each one of them, you want to place a plus for net gain of energy. Yeah, when I think this, I believe in myself. Neha, you can do it. And I always tell myself that would be a net gain. Now, if a net drain would sound something like, oh, you never get it right. Like you really need to try harder, right? So paying attention to what thoughts you're thinking about as you're driving, as you're in transit to work or on your way home, when you're getting ready to go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, when you're daydreaming. Also, just paying attention to whether you view the world from a place of trust and optimism or more of skepticism and mistrust. And there's always good reasons for why people do that. There's not a right or a wrong, but you want to pay attention in your mental energy to noticing whether it's giving you energy or draining you. And lastly is failure versus learning. So when you make a mistake, how do you view that? Do you view it as an opportunity to learn? Does it feel like a failure? Do you brush right over it and just keep going? Is there some other way that you relate to it? So taking a few moments to go to the mental energy section, it's blue, and filling in a few of these items to take a pulse and see, is your mental energy, is it giving you energy or is there a net drain of energy there? You're just getting a rough idea, just taking a rough estimate, pulsing, check-in. Overall, is your mental energy gaining, draining? All right, so just starting to wrap up and just noticing at the bottom, you're going to take just a little bit of a pulse check. Hey, overall, would I call this a net gain or drain of energy for me? Next, we're moving into emotional energy. And emotional energy is around tears, anger, anxiety, and recently in the last few years, trauma, grief, loss, and that you may have experienced this at other times in your life. But how well can you navigate these experiences, both in yourself and in others? And does it give you energy to connect to them? How good are you at apology and forgiveness, both of others and for yourself? And where do you infuse joy and play in your day? Do you keep it really serious, or do you let yourself have a little fun? So on the emotional end, the way that we can find out where you're losing energy on this level is by asking yourself, in what areas of your life are you avoiding conflict or difficult emotions? Right? Health, money, family, social, significant other, work, other. There might be another area. So taking a moment to also notice what areas bring you joy. So let's take a little inventory there. Go into your green emotional energy section and check all that apply. And as you breathe in slowly and deeply, just really appreciating yourself for taking this time and the courage and the bravery to reflect on your life and see where you have a net gain and a net drain of energy. And this one was a little bit quicker in the question section. So just wrapping up the emotional energy section. And we're going to move on now to social energy. Social energy is such an important energy. We've all noticed how this physical separation has taught us about our deep interconnectedness. And now so many of us value in person so much more, and we may have taken it for granted. Social energy is a tricky one because it involves our need for belonging. Many of us try to fit in rather than belong. And belonging is about being your true, authentic self wherever you are, not trying to fit into what other people or a structure, a group wants you to become. So it's about navigating power and hierarchy. It's about making clear expectations and agreements and setting healthy boundaries, drawing healthy boundaries. It's also about when we get in conflict with one another, that we don't talk about each other, we talk to each other. So if you notice people talking about each other, that's the drama triangle. Another aspect of social energy is around healthy conflict. Do you avoid it? Do you pretend it's not there? Do you talk about it to someone else, but not the person you need to? Where are you in the healthy conflict area of social energy, or do you lean in? I have a book that I wrote called Talk RX. And so for any of you that struggle with the healthy conflict experience, what I want you to know is I will show you at the end that book to give you a resource on how to change that, because a lot of people don't lean into conflict because literally their own biology shuts them down. Like your job, the job of your body is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Really your brain's most basic function. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. And conflict can mean you don't belong anymore. And that's a big fear a lot of people have, so they avoid it. And that's just keeping themselves safe. So I'll tell you about that at the end. Now, what questions do you want to ask yourself around social energy? Well, a quick and easy way to see about your social energy is just to name the top 5 people you spend the most time with, whether it's in person or online. And right next to each of them, think about the experience when you are leaving them, when you're saying goodbye on Zoom or in person, right? Do you feel uplifted, open, connected, or do you feel contracted, heavier, a sense of heaviness? So taking a moment to go ahead and write that down, become aware of your energy. All right. So taking a moment, I just went and taking a moment to wrap that up, and we're going to move into spiritual energy. So spiritual energy. Some people say, why do you make this so important and you make it equal to all the others? Well, you know this. It's about what you value. Spiritual energy is about your highest values, what matters to you, why you spend the energy and time you do, caring for the people you do, doing the work you do. Why does it matter? Those are your highest values. And in fact, when you're clear on what your highest values are, that can help you make decisions more easily. So spiritual energy is also about trusting yourself. It's about the ability to take risks. You will take risks in the areas that you trust yourself. You will not take as many risks in the areas where you do not trust yourself. This is about spiritual energy. It's also about feeling valued and appreciated, which we spoke about in the 6 drivers of personal and organizational fit in burnout, and especially really connecting to your purpose and meaning in the world. And so spiritual energy is absolutely as vital in burnout as your physical, mental, emotional, social energy is. And so what questions would I ask you? I'd ask you something along the lines of, what are the 3 most meaningful things that someone could say about you? If you were not in the room, what would you say would be the most complimentary? That'll give you a clue to what you value. You can describe a time you felt deeply valued and appreciated. And if you tell that story, listen below it for what values you hold dear. We spoke about self-trust. So in what arenas do you take risks? Physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. Where do you take risks in your life? And where do you avoid risks? Maybe some people take great physical risks, but they really avoid emotional risks. Just noticing, once again, no right, no wrong. What do you have faith in? And so taking a moment to go ahead and fill out the spiritual section of your burnout awareness prescription. And just beginning to wrap up on your spiritual energy intake, noticing whether this is a place that gives you energy or drains you of energy. And as you do that, I had promised you that I would show you how to, if you're struggling with conflict, which many people are, if you want to learn how to, go inward into your own, decipher your own body's signals, any of these areas, TalkRx is the book that I had spoken to you about. You can find it on audiobook or written. So that's an option for you if you discover that that's an area you want to work on. And now let's take a big overall reflection here. And let's see, given these new awarenesses, on what levels are you gaining energy? And on what levels are you losing energy? So we're going to go ahead and take a final poll here so that all of you can see where everybody is on this call. What are the areas where you experience a net gain of energy? And where do you experience a net drain? And as you do this, I just want to say my next book is actually on burnout for women. So as you get this energy, get these awarenesses, just know the world right now is working to help you resolve that, improve it, heal it, and you're already on your way. Thank you so much for having me participate.